news and information in business around the world. Stay ahead of the curve from vision to action. If big companies have been hardly hit by the impact of COVID-19, more so the startups which are struggling to make their mark in the competitive marketplace. In this episode of Open for Business, we have a tech startup who will share with us tips on transforming your business that includes outsourcing and digitalization. Ginger Arboleda, co-founder and chief operating officer of Taxumo, will join us when Open for Business returns after these reminders.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Open for Business is back, and with me is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taxumo. How are you, Miss Ginger?
Hi, Cesar. Thank you for having me in the show. So we're doing good, and I'll be happy to share some insights and experiences.
It's interesting that we have you today because being one of the owners of a startup company, it's good, Miss Ginger, also that as a member of the startup community in the Philippines, talagang you fully embraced digital transformation, di ba? One of, I think the concept of your business model is towards that, embracing digitalization. Can you talk more about this concept of digital transformation, especially for SMEs? Kasi, siyempre, a lot of the SMEs now had to really fast-track their digital transformation, unlike you in your case. Maybe you can also talk about your business model so that it will be easier for SMEs now to go towards digital transformation as well.
Okay, so Cesar, I think I want to start with a frequently asked question by people. They always ask me, what's the difference between a startup company and a traditional business? I think for startups, what we look at is the impact that we can create in this world. So, and when we think of impact, we're talking about, let's say, the UN SDG goals, Sustainable Development Goals, and we're helping towards that, helping towards a specific impact that we want to create. And when we talk about the impact, that's wherein scalability comes into play. And this being scalable, us being scalable, it's a big discussion in the startup scene that we do things fast, we do things quickly to achieve that scale. And it's all because of that, because when we have impact, we want to have that huge impact. And we can only do it when we scale up our services. So, and we know that one enabler really is technology. So that's the reason why most of the startups are tech startups, because we use technology to scale our business, to get to as much customers or as much people as possible, so that we can basically help improve the services all around us. So in my case, my business revolves around tax services or compliance. Before, alam naman natin that tax compliance isn't that easy in the Philippines. It's a very tedious process. Before the train law, we had a simple business owner would file 16 forms in a year. And with train law, it was cut down to around 8 tax forms in a year. But still, the process of complying with the government, the process of registration, tax compliance, it's hard. It's very manual because of it being manual. The complication comes into play now.
Yeah,
So what we did,
Miss Ginger. That
yeah,
that business model is very interesting. But I'd like to go back to two concepts that you mentioned about startups.
sure.
We acknowledge what you mentioned about the difference of startups and also the traditional businesses. But you mentioned two words, and that is scalability and
Yeah.
impact. Now, halimbawa, di ba, a lot of the startups, especially the tech startups, are very young entrepreneurs like you. You know, they some of them, you know, they haven't been in college or they haven't graduated from college yet, but you know, they have this idea and concept already in mind. As a matter of fact, you know, immediately after college, they already set up their own startup companies. In terms of impact, Miss Ginger, as you also mentioned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, ano ba yung mga areas dun sa, halimbawa sa 17 SDGs na gusto ng mga startups na magkaroon ng impact? So, the young entrepreneurs now, di ba, they are really very passionate, they're very creative, pero with the millennials now, you know, with the young entrepreneurs, what is that specific impact based on your, you know, dealings with other startups like you? Ano bang impact yung talagang dapat nilang napagtutuunan ng pansin? Or ano yung, you know, what is that area or that pain point in business that they want to have impact upon or impact on?
Yeah. Yeah, it's this pandemic has really taught me about soul searching, no. I think it's very important that you have self-awareness if you are a startup. So it really starts with where you want to make that impact, no. So let's say if you are a firm believer on helping the environment, no, yung itong mga bagyo natin ngayon, it's really caused by systems that are disarray, no, yung dahil ginulo natin ng nature, basically. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mga ganitong klaseng pandemia or unforeseen circumstances like bagyo, diba? So if you want to help with that, then focus on that. Ang mga, I guess, in terms of like scalability and sustainability when it comes to monetization, no, obviously you have to look around you. Tingnan nyo kung anong kailangan ng communities ninyo. So if obviously, nandiyan pa rin yung mga basic needs, essentials. If you're planning a startup for essentials, medical technology, medtech, that's also something that people are looking at right now. Because of the pandemic, they've become more aware of the fact that they need to protect themselves and their health. Fitness is also one thing right now. Basic needs, hindi mawawala yan. So food, logistics also, because transportation has been cut off, right? So in terms of like all of these rules and regulations by the government so that everyone is safe and secure. So logistics will come into play. So if you have a startup na gusto nyo magpadala ng goods from one place to another or help people transfer goods and services or raw materials, that is also good. Agriculture, because of food or necessities, no, of people. So you know, so it's really up to you to see where do you want to help with, lalo na sa mga yung mga young people who are watching this.
So it's a mixture of that business concept. Actually, you said it started with a pain point, you know, which is,
Yeah.
you know, which resulted to you paying a lot, or you know, because of tax compliance, there were issues. But and then from that pain point, you had this business idea. But the interesting thing there is that the need for technology to institutionalize it. So what's the interplay now of technology in your business, but not necessarily in your business, but maybe you can also share your key points or insights for SMEs. I always use this example, and Miss Betchay Vidanes knows this, na yung mga dating nagtitinda ng kakanin sa mga vendors sa daan, di ba? During the pandemic and after the pandemic, they had to use technology or social media to post, you know, their products, their produce, and wow, after that, the world is their market. So how important is the use of technology, in business, especially for SMEs, as they offer now uh, their products to a bigger market, and that is the whole world.
Yeah. So in that case, no, it's really thinking about like the quickness when it comes to delivering your services. It's thinking about delighting your customers. Like how can you delight your customers? It's getting to as much of the target addressable market or your target audience as much as possible, no, and using technology. Pero there are also cases wherein you don't really um, like technology isn't something that you want to use, no? So titignan mo talaga yung negosyo mo. Like, where in my business can I use it? For example, in your example, marketing, basically using technology for marketing was the most crucial aspect of that, no? Kung nagtitinda siya, maybe in terms of like baking sila pa rin, and then replicating themselves as bakers or cooks, no, when it comes to creating the product. So you have to determine where in your process can you actually insert technology. So that's where itong digital transformation comes into play. You don't just inject technology even when it's not needed, because resources come into play as well.
Ginger, you mentioned something about cost. So, like, say, for example, you don't have to use technology, or make sure that your business needs it, because you said technology may be expensive, but with my other interviews, technology doesn't have to be expensive because there are enablers, diba? So instead of, like, say, for example, I was talking with one of the CEOs, they develop a lot of free platforms. So it's up for the SME now to make sure that they make use of those free platforms and apply it to their business. But in your case, ang nakakatuwa sa inyo, ikaw ang from that platform, you developed that platform. It's like you created it and it's offered to a lot of SMEs. Is the process also of because that's already software or app development, diba? So what's the certain process? And this is, as you mentioned, you were the first to offer these tax services online or digital. What's the certain process? You don't have to describe in detail, but is it expensive ba, or did you somehow modify an existing business model or software app and then you applied it in the Philippine market? Paano ba yon?
Yeah, in terms of the cost, no, it wasn't really an issue for us when we started because everything was developed internally. So when I say internally, my husband developed it, and then when we scaled up, or nung meron nang nagbabayad for our service, that's when we hired developers, etc. I think what you need to think of when you're starting a startup, it's really looking at the product market fit. Looking if people will buy your services, because importante yon, because revenue will always sustain you, no? So it's not like maghahanap ako ng investor who will invest in me, or mag-uutang ako right away. Those are not the first things that you think of. The first thing that you need to think of is your customer. Like, what does your customer need? And are they willing to pay for the service? Because sabi nga, diba, if you get a little bit of traction already, when I say traction, people who are paying for your services, it slowly, unti-unti nyo na siyang nasa-scale, because you will have to iterate, titignan mo, oy, what works, no? And then I will do that and multiply that, basically, multiply that action, and then scale up. So in terms of cost, hindi talaga siya issue. And to add to that, there are a lot of tama ka, free services that are already there out in the market, as compared to, grabe ang nagagawa ng 4 years, as compared to 2016, there were not a lot of enterprise solutions for MSMEs, but now there are a lot. No, people are seeing that there are a lot of services that they can use for marketing, for HR, for all of these things. So it's good to explore and look around, no?
Wow, Ginger, these are very practical tips, and thank you so much for sharing. We're running out of time. We have to pause for these reminders. Open for Business will be back. Stay with us.
Hey there, Arnie Aquino here at Hatley Castle, one of the filming locations for the X-Men series. Don't forget to tune in to Digital Nest only on Net25.
Open for Business is back, and still with me is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taksumo. Miss Ginger, we were talking about risks earlier. I think that was the last insight that you mentioned. In terms of outsourcing, people are using or hiring or making use of these available platforms. You mentioned that the risk should still be with the business owner. Ano-ano ba yung, I know that there's different kinds of business risks, di ba? Pero what are these risks that business owners, especially SMEs, should look out for?
Yeah, so most of the applications kasi out there, Cesar, are just tools, no? So for example, like in terms of compliance or tax filing, you can't blame the system or you can't blame your accountant. At the end of the day, the one who pays the penalties is you, the business owner. And also, let's say security, no? Security is there, like yung applications to tell us if there are malware or viruses that are trying to be injected in our website or systems and applications. So those are tools. Pero at the end of the day, like who will resolve or who will protect the system pa rin is basically who will make the decisions in this case is the business owner. So maraming instances talaga wherein the risks falls in the business owner's hands.
Okay. Now, you also mentioned earlier, Ms. Ginger, that aside from this tax services, you also maintain this company from events management, and then you said you pivoted. Ang events talaga malaking it was really adversely affected by the pandemic, diba? No event happened during the pandemic, and up to now, because we still maintain social distancing, diba? The number of people attending an event would be somehow limited, and if you have to really, make use of or implement or be responsible in, providing health and safety for your customers, you have to think of this social distancing. Ang nakakatuwa, Miss Ginger, sinabi mo, talagang nag-transform ka or nag-shift ka and you pivoted, as you startups always mention this, to something digital. And even we were talking about it off cam, even the model, di ba, from B2C, business to consumer, to B2B, nag-shift ka din. So, ano yung insights mo na kailan dapat mag-pivot o mag-change ng strategy ang isang startup o isang negosyante para ma-serve niya yung needs ng market niya? Kasi ngayon, hindi naman talaga natin pinaghandaan ang pandemya. So, we are not ready about this. But in your case, since you said off-cam, even before the pandemic, ginawa ka na, you had to pivot. Kailan dapat gawin ng isang negosyante, kahit lalo na yung mga maliliit natin negosyante, na kailangan pag-isipan na nila yung business model nila, sabi nila, hindi na kumikita to, hindi na effective to. Yung product ko dati na essential ay naging non-essential na. At yun namang mga produkto dati na, na non-essential, my goodness, these are now the essential products like the face shields and the face masks. So the question is, kailan dapat mag-pivot or mag-shift to digital ang mga negosyante?
So merong global entrepreneurship monitor report na tinatawag. So meron doon na ang Philippines actually 66, if I'm not mistaken, 66% of the entrepreneurs in the Philippines fail prior to 3 years because of two things. One is really cash flow management. So yung how they track their finances, how they track their expenses and revenue. And also the other one is financing. So, namamatay because hindi na sustain yung business dahil wala na silang cash, basically, to sustain the business. So, I think in terms of pivoting, if you know that you really want to sustain this type of business, maybe look at your, again, going back, that's why very important ang whys and ang purpose, no? Because you can go back to your purpose and see how you can achieve it even if you change the business model, even if you change the product or services that you're offering, no? So that's very crucial. That's one. And next is look at your cash flow. Until when ba talaga ang kaya mong i-sustain yung business mo? If two things lang yun eh. It's either you increase your revenue or cut down on expenses. That's the reason why nung pandemic, maraming nagbawas ng tao because one of the main sources of expense is manpower, diba? So nakakalungkot isipin, but that's one of the things that people cut down on. So maybe look at I think it's a shift of mindset, no? Let's see where we can get more revenue at this point in time. That's why you can introduce new lines, new kinds of products, new business models na kunwari, before, nag-earn ka lang, let's say, from a subscription model. Now, gusto mong dagdagan ng advertising, which probably is something that can give you additional revenue. So, look at that, no? Look at both aspects, no? Saan ba tayo we can increase revenue and cut down expenses. But most of the time, people actually will see that there are opportunities to increase sources of revenue. So, those are the things that I actually can think of right now.
In your business cases, Miss Ginger, what were the specific changes that you implemented to adapt to the new normal? Like, for example, my friend Miss B, dati, of course, press conferences are done face-to-face. But I was invited in a press conference one time by her, and everything was done online via Zoom. So, and that's it. There you have it. It's like having this program or press conference via Zoom online. But of course, eventually, we go back into the physical press conferences, including what Net25 did earlier for Ang Daigdig Ko'y Ikaw, our first romantic drama series. But going back to my question to you, ano yung mga what were the changes that you did to adapt to the new normal? Did you revisit then your business plan or your platform and make those tweaks or changes, to make sure that you still continue to address the needs of your market?
Yes. For Manila workshops, we really shifted from a B2C model kasi marami na ngayon na free courses online. So we couldn't really sell like educational courses anymore. We could, but it wasn't that lucrative na, no? Kasi marami na ngayon, syempre lahat nag-shift to technology. Like meron ng mga free courses sa LinkedIn, sa Facebook, all of these. You search on Google, you can just see courses right away. So we shifted to helping big businesses, create courses na lang online. So parang naging enabler na lang kami sa back end. So ganun yung shift namin when it came to Manila workshops. For Taxumo naman, we saw that a lot of businesses were dormant during the pandemic. So instead of like getting time para mag-file sila, what we did is we created an automated product. So it's set lang nila sa settings nila that they want to file for these services. The system automatically triggers already filing ng zero tax dues because of the need na people, wala na nga silang pera, and if they close their business, that will entail money also. Yun nga yung point, wala silang pera. So paano nila isasara yung business nila? So right now, what businesses do is that they comply pa rin kahit na dormant yung business, filing zero filings. And then later on, when they see that there's an opportunity to get back up on their feet, no, they can already start paying again, no, start filing taxes again because may revenue nang pumapasok. So that's what we did naman for Taxumo.
Miss Ginger, I see that you are the epitome of a startup who has in an SME who's very resilient, have this passion and creativity, because of these ideas that you are sharing and the insights that you're sharing. My question there is, where do you get that kind of inspiration? Maybe you can provide some tips to our SME owners, because especially with the government campaigns and the private sector campaigns where they support talaga SMEs, like di ba meron tayong Ingat, Angat, and then we have the Bayanihan, that Net25 also supports. So ito talaga yung panahon na dapat maiangat din ang lahat ng mga SMEs, the small business owners who really feel that negative impact. Sabi mo nga, dalawa lang yan, cash management at saka financing. So talagang pera lahat. And here you are offering tax services, pera pa rin. So where should the SMEs, get that kind of inspiration that you have to also inspire them to bounce back?
Yeah, so I think one of the questions that we ask now when we make business decisions, big business decisions, and I think people can use this as well, is what's the worst that could happen? So think about like business decisions, and if it doesn't work, let's say you try it out, you execute, and it doesn't work, what's the worst that could happen to you, diba? So if that's something that non-negotiable, so talagang you really need to work on that thing. Pero normally, most of the time, Cesar, people will always have an alternative to that question. No? So it's not the worst. Or sometimes what you can do is you can think back at a very challenging time in your life and see that you're okay now. So you being okay now, it's amazing. So ganun lang siya. So that's how I keep myself motivated. No? Kahit anumang challenge yan, kaya ko yan. Kasi dati nga kaya ko yung mga challenges na binato sa akin. Bakit ito hindi ko kaya? Kaya nyo yan. So it's always, it's really the belief also that you want to create positive change in this world. Yun talaga siya eh. It's whether the impact is for your family, and that's very important as well, or if you want to change the world, that's also as important, equally important as to the impact that you want for your family. No? So lahat tayo, we want to have that positive change through the people around us. So that's what we can latch on. That's why very important ang wise when it comes to starting your business. When it comes to starting your business, because that's the only thing that you can think back on and really say na ginagawa ko to dahil dito.
Thank you so much for gracing Open for Business. We hope to see you more and engage with you more, Miss Ginger. That is Miss Ginger Arboleda, the co-founder and COO of Taxumo Open for Business. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Kumanta, sumaya tayong lahat. Kaya saya.
Open for Business is back, and our term of the week is from Investopedia.com. Our term of the week is venture capitalist. A venture capitalist, or VC, is a private equity investor that provides capital to companies exhibiting high growth potential in exchange for an equity stake. This could be funding startup ventures or supporting small companies that wish to expand but do not have access to equities markets. Venture capitalists are willing to risk investing in such companies because they can earn a massive return on their investments if these companies are a success. VCs experience high rates of failure due to uncertainty that is involved with new and unproven companies. And our word of the week is from the co-founder of Microsoft, Bill Gates. He said, Your most unhappy customers are your greatest source of learning. Thank you for watching Open for Business. Join us again in the next episodes of Open for Business for more insights from CEOs, thought leaders, industry experts, and SMEs promoting business development in the Philippines. See you again every Saturday and Sunday here in Open for Business, where we discuss business information, deliver the latest business news to keep you informed and open for business and be ahead of the curve from vision to action. You're on Facebook Live on Eagle News and Net25 TV, and you can watch this again in the video section of the Eagle News and Net25 Facebook pages and on eaglenewslive.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Net25 TV. Thank you again for watching for Open for Business. This is Cesar Vallejos. We live in interesting times. Have a great day.